The honourable member for Morris.
Mr. Speaker, SeaWatch's scathing assessment of Lake Winnipeg, Lake Manitoba, and Lake Winnipegosis as, quote, comparable to some of the most poorly managed fisheries in the world, end quote, is just another day in the office for the Selinger government. One of the SeaWatch's recommendations was, quote, more resources be given towards the fisheries branch to undertake rudimentary stock assessments would be important, end quote. And apparently the Director of Fish and Wildlife agrees, saying in the media, quote, they've made some accurate assessments, end quote. This spring, the minister again cut funding to fish monitoring by almost $300,000 on top of the $20 million worth of cuts he's overseen since 2011. Mr. Speaker, I ask this minister, how can he find $670,000 for political severance packaging, but nothing to save our lake monitoring of fish resources?
The Honourable Minister of Conservation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm a little surprised at the member opposite who, in his career in the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, encouraged government to try and function as efficiently as possible, and that's precisely what we're doing in the Department of Conservation and Water Stewardship. But that does not mean that we are not focusing on important issues, such as the fisheries on Lakes Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Winnipegosis. In fact, working with fishers, which is an important part of the equation, Mr. Speaker, we've achieved eco-certification on Waterhen Lake. This is the first lake in the Western Hemisphere, Mr. Speaker, to achieve eco-certification, and only the second lake in the world. So, for the member
Order, please. The Honourable Minister's time on this question has elapsed. The Honourable Member for Morris.
Mr. Speaker, the thing about Sea Choice's recommendation that the NDP reverse their policy of cuts to fish monitoring is that this is not a new recommendation. 5 years ago, on January 11, 2011, the minister's own task force rang the alarm bell on the utter lack of fisheries data, recommending, quote, that the department do an integrated series of monitoring programs and surveys, end quote. Why, despite these recommendations, did the minister eliminate not only the Director of Fisheries position, but the status of standalone branch completely this spring?
The Honourable Minister of Conservation.
Well, Mr. Speaker, for the member to suggest that we're not paying attention to these lakes is erroneous, to say the least. There was an intensive study done in 2011, which we've taken to heart, and we've consigned a very noted Manitoban, Mr. Harold Westall, will be working with us and with fishers and with scientists within the department and without in the days to come as we work toward establishing lake management plans for the three lakes in question, Lakes Winnipeg, Lakes Manitoba, and Winnipegosis, and we will do our utmost to work toward achieving eco-certification, not just on Waterhen Lake, as I said before, the first in the world, or second in the world, but on all the lakes in Manitoba. That's our objective.
Order, please. The Honourable Minister's time in this question has elapsed. The Honourable Member for Morris.
Mr. Speaker, the declaration of these three lakes as, quote, comparable to some of the most poorly managed fisheries in the world, end quote, should come as no surprise to the Selinger government. There have been multiple email warnings sent to this minister's office over the last number of years on this matter, emails the NDP chose to ignore. Can the minister confirm that his office received an email dated February 26, 2015 from the Fisheries Branch warning that, quote, the proposed elimination of the Director of Fisheries position and branch merger will only exacerbate the already tenuous situation we find ourselves in. We can no longer sustain these cuts to our programs and still provide any fish monitoring, data, or analysis of substance or value. Why does the minister continue to ignore the advice of his own frontline services?
The Honourable Minister of Conservation.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this born-again environmentalist across the way here, it's really staggering. 6.5 hours in estimates, no question, on the fisheries. Suddenly, all of a sudden, it's of great interest to them. If they were so interested in the health of our lakes, why won't they support the improvement of the the wastewater treatment plant in the north end of Lake Winnipeg. Their leader referred to that as a waste of money. If they really cared about the quality of our lakes, they would start with managing the manure coming out of the city of Winnipeg here to ensure that these Great Lakes, Lake Winnipeg first and foremost, remains healthful going into the future. So for them to raise questions on the environment is I'll use the word ironic, to say the least, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.